What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mike Dawes Has a Podcast. My name's Mike Dawes, and I do, in fact, have a podcast. This show is all about guitar, guitarists, and the music industry. Joining me on this journey are some friends who I've met on the road over the years, and I'm honoured to share some conversations with guests I'll be meeting for the first time. Let's dive right into it. I smashed my hand already, dude. I got so much stuff in the studio right now. Mark Holcomb, everybody, is in the house. The nicest man in rock and roll.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they say that about Dave Grohl, don't they? But I've never met Dave Grohl, so...
Yeah, I never have, but I imagine he probably has a really, 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 really dark side.
Yeah.
You're the same, dude. It's like, when I met you, I was like, this guy's... I met you, 2013 or something like that? 2014?
I was just trying to think, before this, when did we actually meet? And I came to the conclusion that it was in Montreal.
Montreal, right.
Which would have been 2013. Yeah.
It was before we put out Juggernaut. It was before that album.
Damn, time flies.
We met you. Yeah, man. I was like, this guy's really nice. And then I think we hung out a couple more times, and then I started to become exposed to your very dark, morbid, you've got some really fucked up jokes, and I like that. I like when there's like this second really fucked up layer to somebody, you know?
Dude, I remember I did realize one day that you were the king of puns. In fact, to the point where I was on a tour with T-Rope, who was formerly your guitar tech with Periphery, and then my boss kind of stole him for the Moody Blues Justin Hayward shows. And we were backstage, and I remember it was a venue called The Egg in Albany. Have you ever played there? The Egg?
It sounds familiar, no.
It's this weird like government CIA shit, but there's some weird thing to do with government agencies or whatever. But anyway, we were thinking of, I had to think of stage puns for The Egg. And it was like, text Mark right now. And you came back in like 5 minutes with about 50 egg puns. It was fantastic.
Did I really? I don't remember that. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I didn't mean, I'll let you finish, please.
No. Oh man. I mean, I see that some people call puns dad jokes, like because I do puns sometimes on social media, and people are like, oh, nice dad joke. I'm like, that's not a fucking dad joke. Like, it's a pun. Like, puns are respectable and worthy of recognition, and not to be belittled and not to be labeled dad jokes. Like, I'm not a dad, and they're not lame. So there you go.
Please convince my 23-year-old girlfriend of that, so she stops giving me condescending looks all the time.
Does she call them dad jokes?
I don't know, man. I mean, to a 23-year-old, anyone over the age of 25 is a dad, I guess. I don't know. How have you been doing, man? Like, how's pandemic life for Hulky Mania?
I can't complain really. Like in the grand scheme of things, I've been all right, man. Like it's been weird not to tour. Like we're coming up on a year and change with no Periphery shows, which is the longest we've ever gone as a band without playing live. And it's weird because there's obviously no shows on the horizon, no band business on the horizon, short of all of us just writing in our own separate caves, across the country. But we're writing on our own. But like besides that, we don't have plans to get into the studio imminently. So it's just been me and Bonnie here in the house. Like I've been writing, kind of like we were talking about before we began the podcast. I've also been working on my recording chops at home. Familiarizing myself.
We were talking about how both of us are not particularly literate with like basic music production technology.
Right.
I mean, until 2020, I was doing my demos on iMovie.
Man. Yeah. I know about that. Yeah.
Solo guitar, record. Like, there we go. Jobs are good, right? But I get that, man. It's interesting to speak to so many different people about what they're doing with their bands and their projects in this time, because some people are kind of, I don't know, constantly preparing to jump back out as soon as possible. And other people are like, you know what? I don't want to be part of that first wave back, when it comes to touring, because it's just going to be absolute carnage, like absolute chaos. And I was, another band in your like metal realm, because obviously this podcast, I'm an acoustic guitar player. There are some listeners who are acoustic guitar players and some who are just guitar players in general, or just general people. Some might not know too many metal bands, right? But I was a big fan of the band Nightwish growing up. This like Finnish symphonic metal kind of thing, and their bassist just left, citing a lot of industry reasons and how the streaming's kind of all kind of bullshit, and even with the live tour promotions as people feeling like musicians are getting shafted a little bit. And I think a lot of bands are really starting to think, well, I don't really want to be one of those first bands rushing back out there, getting the deals that perhaps aren't really super favorable because of just the amount of competition out there right at the start. And It's interesting to hear from you guys, because I know you're not it's not too unfamiliar taking a break from touring. I think a few years ago you guys just didn't tour for a whole year out of choice anyway, right?
Yep. Right before Periphery 4, we took a large chunk of time off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting to hear what you guys are doing, because you're all so prolific in what you do as individuals. Is that part of the reason you think you're not jumping to get back out there?
It's for a couple of reasons, and you touched on one of them at first. It's we're not dying to be part of that first wave, like you said. It's going to be oversaturated. There's going to be less. Sorry to bring it immediately to money, but it's something that we all have to think about.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like touring musicians have gone a year with nothing, and let's face it, no government support in most countries as well. So it's not taboo to say that from my point of view anyway.
Yeah, I mean, for us too, and we've always been very transparent about that with our fans and people who follow our band. So we're not trying to be part of that first wave for that reason. And it's just, we've proven historically that we can be that band. Like, we've always looked at bands, looked up to, like a Dream Theater, or like a Meshuggah, or someone like that, or like a Devon, somebody who can take this large chunk of time off of tour and then come back and still pack out rooms and still have the same faces from last time there,
Totally.
And we haven't always known we were that band. I think there was a phase sort of in our, certainly maybe the 2012, 2014 era, like that patch where we were testing out that theory, like we were touring a lot. We were touring maybe 6 to 8 months out of the year, maybe 9 months out of the year, some years. And we started to have these discussions in the bands, like, do we have to be doing this? And we would always get hit with the second voice, or maybe this discord among us in the band that was like, no, man, we got to keep touring, because touring is how you bring home money in this field. So we had to do it. And we never questioned it that much. But then we started to take longer periods of time away from tour. We'd come back, and then there'd be more people at the shows. And that we wanted to turn into, us being able to take breaks whenever we wanted, us being able to work on our own individual things. But I think more importantly, in the grand scheme of Periphery, to keep us coming back to it with more enthusiasm and more zeal,
Right. So only going out when you want to and not feeling like you have to.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it takes a toll on life, man. And here was the sort of latent, unspoken benefit, which nobody could have predicted, is when there's a fucking pandemic and you can't tour, like nobody can tour, you're mentally equipped. I would say we're financially equipped. We have the means to stay afloat when we're not touring, realistically. And, we can write, we can record, we can be ourselves, prolific and busy. We can stay occupied and not have to worry about when we're going to go on tour next. So trust me, like, we're all missing it. We all want to go back out, but we're not trying to, be jumping out before the race begins,
Yeah. No, totally. And it's certainly got me thinking a lot, man, as well, because it's got to a point now, being off tour for so long, I don't want to say I can't remember what it feels like to be on tour. Of course, it's been like my whole professional life. I've been on the road like 11 months of the year. I mean, man, I mean, you
love tour. Dude, you are the person I think in my life who loves tour the most. You whenever I text you or talk to you on tour, you always sound so full of life and full of joy. You're always doing shit.
Dude, I think the last time I spoke to you, pre-pandemic, I was just like, oh yeah, let me just excuse myself from a meal with the guys. I'll just step outside. And I was on this like cliff face in like Alaska or some like totally Viking kind of situation. Yeah. I mean, there was a period with you guys, all of you guys in Periphery, where I would meet up with you on like different continents, different like countries. I don't think we ever met in the same place. You're right. I do love touring, but honestly, a big part of that is because I went straight into it immediately after education. So I didn't really have a life. I mean, I had, you know what I mean? I didn't have that foundation of stuff to miss. I was at that age when everything just disappears and everyone goes their separate ways anyway. So now this year's been almost the opposite of what you're talking about, because it's like, okay, I'm home. Let's see who's in town. Oh, no one, because I hadn't built those relationships, you know. So there's like, so it's a very difficult thing, but it has got me thinking, man. And what you're talking about not rushing out there, I'm on this weird kind of seesaw situation where it's like, I can't wait to get back on tour. I want to go as soon as possible, but at the same time, being forced to kind of make a home life hasn't been a bad thing, really. In fact, right now, I'm pretty much blind looking at you because I just got back from like the laser eye, like surgery place for like a consultation to try and have my glasses removed. I don't know if you could see, but I broke my glasses and taped them up. So I look like Rick Moranis right now in some movie. But, you know, they put these drops in my eyes and my pupils like dilated and you're just like a little bit blurry right now. I hope it is actually you I'm talking to. But yeah, the real life stuff like that, you know, it's nice to have the time to do it. But man, amongst your many recreational activities, I said that all you guys in the band are always very busy doing stuff. Something I didn't realize you did until relatively recently, actually, was you're a video game voiceover artist, right?
Erotic video games. Yeah, it's an emergent field or type of media. Yeah,
I'm sure it's booming in the pandemic as well. That's one industry, man, you want to be in. The game industry. I mean, music and movies, forget about it. Erotic video game voiceovers.
Erotic, yeah, it's like combining all of our vices in one. I got into it a couple years ago, and it's random because I never like to think of myself as anybody like because I would probably be a shitty actor, frankly.
I don't know, man. I've seen you guys in Periphery put out the occasional skit and witty sketch online.
Yeah, Halpern, Matt Halpern has acting chops. I'll give and Misha because he's got a good expressive face about him.
It's for those thumbnails.
Yeah, the old MySpace profile pictures. You know, he's got the angles down.
Oh yeah,
like that.
Pop the heel.
Pop the heel. So 2015, I think it was, we toured with the band Sixth from England.
Amazing band.
Sixth are great.
A band I used to listen to. I think I saw them at the Wedgwood Rooms in Portsmouth. Shout out to people of Portsmouth. Nah, it's not that great.
Okay. We toured with Sixth. And, you know, they're one of those classic legendary bands for us, although they're a little unheralded, in my opinion. Like when I talk to people about where the beginning of this style of music came from, Sick don't ever get enough credit.
Totally. I agree. I saw them in the Tent at Download Festival back in, it must have been like 2006 or 7 or something like that when I was like a teenager. And they would, they're well regarded in the underground in the UK for sure. I mean, they'd be like headlining or second to headlining in those smaller tents at the festivals where all the you know, but I totally agree with you. Amazing band, and their most recent record as well that they put out, freaking fantastic as well.
Killer. Anyways, Mikey's been in the voice acting game for a long time, and you know he's got that cool sort of like baritone, gravelly, that narrative voice. You know, have you heard him do it on the records?
Right. So Sixth, for anyone who doesn't know the band, crazy prog metal band, but they have two singers, and one of them kind of does the thing and the other one makes you scared to sleep with the light off.
Go listen to it.
That guy.
Right. If you're watching this or listening to it, hit pause real quick and go on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever, and just find a Sixth track that's short. It's probably, you know, a minute and a half, 2 minute long thing of just him reading his own poetry, and his voice. It's unlike anything else. It sounds like he's got some kind of like processor on it. There's nothing on it. That's how he talks.
And it's close. It's like this.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And you know, I've always known he had this cool, like otherworldly voice, this speaking voice that he could do. And on tour, I think it was on tour, he asked me, like sort of week 4, week 5 of the tour, he asked me, he was like, "Hey man, you ever do voice acting?" I'm like, "No, fuck no." And he was like, "Well, you have a really naturally low, bassy, sort of smooth voice. Would you ever be into it?" And I was like, "Sure, I guess. I mean, I'll give it a try. I don't know what I'd be doing, but you know, fine." And then he hit me up a couple months later with this audition offer for this game at the time was called No Truce for the Furies, and it got renamed to Disco Elysium later that year. And he invited me out to London a couple of years ago, and I recorded voices for 2 of my characters in the game, and then it came out in 2019 for PC.
Nice one.
Yeah, so I got the gig that way, and I've since started working with this other Japanese studio in Kyoto, the studio called Shuhai Labs, and I'm also working on the re-release for Disco Elysium that's coming out for a PS5 and Xbox and Switch and all that next year. So, yeah,
I'll be able to pick it up. It up, and will I recognize you? Is it are you using your normal voice, or are you
There's one character where I do like a sort of like a New York voice, like a little bit, like very slight. And then there's a Hispanic character that I do.
Right on.
Called Mañana. He's like a scab worker. He talks to the union workers who are on strike, and he's constantly berating them, like that kind of voice.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
There's a third character which I auditioned for, but I can't talk about yet. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm not trying to be the freaking Robert De Niro of voice acting in video games, but
be the Daniel Day-Lewis.
I'll be the Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah,
I'll method act. I'll dress as Sonic the Hedgehog for a month.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, I'll have to. I want to check it out. Absolutely. And I'm not a PC guy. I'm a console idiot, with the Switch and the PS4. So
me too.
I'll check it out. We got to come back to that actually. But speaking of Spain, I remember that trip, man. I remember hanging with you in Spain. What a fun time.
You were there those were seriously the best couple of days of my life, man. That was 2015. Mike, you came out to me and Vanessa's wedding in southern Spain.
It was pretty amazing.
Had such an amazing time, man. We did some pretty silly shit on that trip.
Yeah, we did. I did I discovered I was a terrible man. Because I was just doing like really bad things that my dad wouldn't do wrong, but I would because I'm a child. Like I rented a Fiat 500 to drive around in, but didn't realize.
That.
Yeah. Well, I had the Fiat 5. Obviously, I'm in Europe. I actually know the guy that designed the Fiat 500, so I felt I was like helping his business like he needs it. But he's like the head of McLaren.
Text him and be like, dude, I'm helping you out, doing you a solid right now.
I got you. Do you want me to retweet this Fiat 500s? No. But I drove it onto a beach like some kind of idiot. Like, I wonder what cars are like on sand, like really, really small cars, and had to get like this team of like 10 strong, burly Spanish men with their shirts off to like push the car back. It was like the most demasculine thing.
Oh my
ever.
God.
But that was a fun trip. Yeah, I remember we created Pinkball, which is we created the game Pinkball, which we since played a couple of times around the world. For the benefit of the recording, Pinkball is a game where you have a pink ball and it's pink ball. It's pink ball.
And whatever happens with the pink balls.
It's Pinkball. It's Pinkball. Shout out to Justin and Marquides and all of those guys as well.
And Nolly came too.
Nolly was there. Yeah. I remember it was. I also remember that because it was my birthday, but it was my birthday on the day I had to leave, so I got to celebrate it with you guys as we crossed midnight. But then the whole of my birthday was just getting fined by Ryanair and trying to get home. But that's not to take away from the amazing experience. Went to a flamenco show as well.
Went to a flamenco show the day after.
A real flamenco show in Spain.
Yeah. I mean, like the day, I believe it was the day after the wedding, all of us, or most of us from the wedding, like of our crowd, me, Mike, Vanessa, Nolly, my dad, everybody went. We went out to this flamenco show in the downtown area of an old Spanish town called Jerez de la Frontera. And I had never seen a legit one like that. And it was unreal, man. Like you could tell these people lived and breathed that style of music, and it's so foreign to me. And I don't know shit about it. I remember you chatted up the guitar player because you were so sort of enthralled by it.
I chatted him up.
Yeah. Slid into his
DMs.
Yeah.
Well, he was amazing. I mean, that's the thing, that style. So at the time I'd just come off a tour called International Guitar Night, and actually you came to one of those shows
in Maryland,
because we played Scarlett.
Yeah.
With Kike Sinesi, who is a legendary Argentinian tango guitar player. We did a duet version of Mark's band Periphery's song Scarlett, which is just such a odd thing to happen, but it was really, really beautiful. This tour they hire every year for international guitar players essentially, and I remember these. I don't know if he ever did it in the end, but the player at that flamenco night was so outstanding and so, like you say, authentically from that area and playing that style. That it was. I had to connect him with the organizers, because that's the thing with flamenco. It's like if you're not from that region of that country in that village, then it's not real flamenco, right? Which is wild. And the dancing and the singing and all of that was amazing. But I feel like that's a really nice segue to actual guitar talk, right? And actual guitar stuff, seeing as, we are guitar players. Before we go into that, like, I know a lot of acoustic guitar players are Periphery fans. Loads of guitar players are Periphery fans, because you guys are freaking guitar heroes, man. But for anyone, who is coming from that acoustic world and doesn't really know your band, could you summarize briefly what Periphery is, and if possible do it without using that word?
What word?
The D word.
Oh yeah, that dirty word. I would say it's fun, playful, progressive music, and I know it's not, because my idea of progressive is Dream Theater and Rush and like all those like wacky old school prog bands. So coming at it from an angle of just being playful, which I like to use that word when people ask about the rhythmic sensibilities of Periphery. They're like, oh, how do you guys write, in crazy time signatures, or how do you guys write all these weird fucked up accents over 4/4 and all those kinds of questions? I always just say it's a playful attitude. So it's metal, right? It's really abrasive and it's heavy. We have a singer who, to me, kind of makes the band, Spencer.
Dude, he's a unicorn.
Yeah, you're in a band with him. You know damn well. He's a unicorn. He's got no ego. He sings. I mean, he's my favorite metal singer, like he's my favorite metal singer, and I get to be in a band with that motherfucker. But
he's one of my favorite humans just in general.
Yeah. And that goes hand in hand with it. Like I've heard it from so many people. It's like, how does this dude do what he does and not walk around blowing himself all day? I don't know if I can say that on the podcast. Well, he doesn't. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't do that.
Fuck shit boobies. You're fine.
Fuck shit booby. Is that your new punk band side project? Do
you want to be in it?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Done. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how bands are started.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, it's heavy, abrasive, and chaotic and all over the place. But to me, it all just goes back to being fun and playful. And I think you can hear that on every single record, every single song. Whether it's a 3-minute long 8-string ass kicker of a song, or whether it's an interlude or a 12-minute song, I think you can hear us having fun and getting to do what we love. So I think it all boils down to that. And that's a really Reading Rainbow kind of positive answer. So
that's a really good answer. Playful. It's playful. It's the perfect word. And you know what? It ties in with exactly why I decided to spend like a month trying to learn one of your songs on acoustic guitar. Damn. And it was because, and this was specifically one of your songs, right? Scarlett is a Mark brings this song to the table in the band, right? There's something about that song and a lot of Periphery songs, and also just a lot of metal songs that I like, that I think so many people in my realm overlook. So, for example, I'm in a situation where I'm at the time touring around the world playing acoustic guitar to acoustic guitar fans, folk music fans, people that perhaps their sons and daughters might be into metal, but they think it's a lot of noise, right? And I don't mean that with any disrespect to anybody, but as a metal fan growing up, you know that there's so much more to the music than the loud yelly vocals, right? And what I wanted to do with the Scarlett thing was showcase that and basically play the exact same notes and create the exact same emotions, or try to replicate those emotions through in an instrumental acoustic context. And people would come up after the shows and say, "Oh, I really enjoyed your playing. My son plays metal, but I wish he would play this stuff." And I'm there. Well, I just kind of snuck in one of the most frantic, playful, as you say, metal songs, and you didn't even know. So maybe take a listen to your son's records and maybe you might enjoy something, And I don't mean that in an aggressive way, but I felt it was kind of my mission as a secret, slightly closeted Gothenburg metal fan to kind of sneak that into the vocabulary, into the ears of the unsuspecting.
I'll never forget this. That's awesome, by the way. I'll never forget this. And it was the first time I met you. For everybody out there who doesn't know the story, it was 2014, right? 2013 or 2014?
Well, we met in Montreal just as a casual hang, but we didn't really chat. I think because I knew Nolly at the time, and we were both on tour in Montreal at the same time, so it was a bit of a hey and a bit of a GTA session on the bus. I was out somewhere. It was in Montreal. I was out somewhere. I come up onto our tour bus, and you're there. And you're holding an acoustic guitar and you're sitting in the front cabin area of our tour bus. And I think there's a bunch of people around you. And I'm like, who's this long haired guy? And you're holding an acoustic guitar and you're playing Scarlett. And I'm like, immediately I'm just transfixed because you're playing the verse and you're playing Spencer's vocal lines with your right hand. And then you go to the chorus and you know the chorus and you start playing his vocal lines for the chorus. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I hadn't even talked to you. And I videotaped it. I still have the video on my phone, actually. Man, you must send that to me because I don't recall this at all. I think that night just went off the rails. So I don't remember a lot of what happened, to be honest. I don't remember ever playing.
I'll find the video. You played it for us before I ever spoke to you. And I was blown away. I think I posted it online immediately. Wow. And I gotta say, man, and I don't think I've ever told you this like this, but that has always been one of the greatest honors of my career, to hear what you did with that song. Because I go back to that song, your rendition of it, every so often, maybe every couple months or so, and I just listen to it, and I'm like, wow, you bring it to life, you make it sing and shine in a way that the whole band couldn't really do, because it's its own thing. It's I don't even think of it as a version of Scarlett. I think of it as its own piece. So I will always be so honored that you did that. Really, it's so special to me. I go back and I enjoy it more than our old fucking song.
Oh, dude. Well, that's really sweet, man. That's so kind. I was at, what's funny is the episode of this podcast that went out today as we are filming, this will go out next week. Was with Andy McKee, and part of that conversation led to just talking about when other people cover our songs, and how it does feel to us like this crazy honor above really anything else out there, other than perhaps messages of, I was in a dark place and your song helped me, because in the fingerstyle world, these arrangements with tab or without tab, they get so complex just in nature, the nature of just trying to play multiple parts at the same time, that when somebody spends the time to do that, it's and they do it well, it's like, wow, dude, you must have impacted them. And Andy was telling me that the reason that he got his first ever international tour was that someone by ear, this was pre-YouTube, so in the MySpace days, someone by ear had heard his song, learnt it and played it in a guitar store, and the promoter heard this guy play and was like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's this guy. Okay, I'll check him out. Oh, I'll invite him over. It's like some carrier pigeon, pre-internet, sheet music going to a family to play on an orchestra way of hearing someone's music. It's just absolutely insane. Yeah, but dude, thank you for the compliment, man. That's so sweet. This, ladies and gentlemen, is just me and Mark kissing each other's bottoms because we haven't seen each other for a while, but I appreciate that, man. Well, that's a really good description of Periphery and the band, and I had so many things I wanted to ask you about that, because there's 3 guitar players in Periphery. How on earth do you guys write the music you do with 3 creative forces? Like, what is the process there of how are you coming up with these crazy songs and these crazy riffs?
I would say it's only possible with three guitarists, like with us three. Like it doesn't work if it's just two of us. And you can hear it in the early Periphery stuff, which is why I think, in my own personal opinion, and it seems to be the general consensus, that the material, I think, is objectively improved over the years. And you can hear it because so many of those songs, Periphery 1 was all Misha, those were all his, demos in band form for Periphery 1. Periphery 2, I was brought into the fold, and I contributed songs and riffs. Jake did too. He contributed more, but even that was mostly Misha on Periphery 2. Periphery 3 and Juggernaut and Periphery 4 and all the stuff that came afterwards, that was when we started to implement this this process of collaboration, where we all get into a room and we take 2 weeks out of our schedule and we live with one another. Like for every single record we've done since Periphery 2, we lived in Misha's apartment.
Wait, so you're creating this stuff in that situation? You're not writing this stuff privately before and bringing it?
There's some of it. There's some of it that's written on our own, which is what we've been doing for the past year since COVID hit. And that's going to really help out when we actually do get into a room together. But the bulk of it is done in the same room. And that, to me, has become our sound. When we all get into a room, Spencer and Matt are involved too. And we write together. So, people ask me, they're like, does it get tricky stepping on each other's toes? Do egos ever get in the way? Do you have to be sort of on the lookout for each other? Like, is there some sort of hindrance that you guys present to each other? And I would say it's 100% the opposite, in that it would not be possible.
Dude, that is so rare that you three have that chemistry that works. That's insane.
I mean, dude, I agree. And that's the reason I feel like I've kind of won the lottery, in a respect. And I'm not sure how the other guys feel, but, they probably, we all feel lucky to be in this situation with one another because, it's an old school approach. One of the things that I think opened up our band to the idea of collaborating more was Deftones. We took a tour with Deftones in early 2013, and they told us some stories about their writing process. And they said they cannot write unless they're all in a room together. And at the time, that blew our minds. I was like, doesn't it get sweaty and stuffy?
Because you're coming from the era of Misha creating the entire record by himself, and then you recently joining the band. Yeah.
Right. Or sitting by yourself in front of the computer and composing everything yourself, or just this sense of isolation in the creative process, and then collaborating to actually track the record.
Yeah.
When we heard that, I think there was this collective sort of like cultural shift in our band, and we started to be more open to the idea of working together. And at this point, it's become something that I don't think we can truly ever reverse, because none of us have any interest in doing it, man. Like, and that's why we all have our own projects. Like, for anybody who doesn't know our band, it's like Misha has Bulb, Jake has the Jake Bowen electronic project. I have Haunted Shores that I record and write with Misha. And we all get our kicks that way. So we can be totally selfish and not have any filters on that material whatsoever. When it comes to writing Periphery, that is defined by the people who make it, all five of us. So that's what it's become at this point in time.
It's amazing. Well, one of the things that I really respect about you guys is that as individuals, even like Matt and Spencer as well, and Nolly when he was in the band, you're all absolute masters of your individual things, but then of so much more. I don't know many other bands where the vocalist is a world-class producer as well. You know what I mean? Spencer is a absolute powerhouse, and I know Periphery has really exploded into the sort of musician nerd realm because there's so much going on the drums, on the guitars and everything. But I do have to kind of consistently give Spencer shout outs because there isn't really a vocal equivalent of that, yet he's bringing that same energy, you know?
It bleeds over into his work ethic too. Like he's taken, dude, you know this firsthand. He's become amazing at mixing, at engineering, at producing. And he takes it to a whole new level when it comes to applying those skills to his work in Periphery, for demoing, for recording vocals for Periphery records. He's become this jack of all trades kind of otherworldly talent. I mean, I can't say just how lucky I am, and you are too, for having Absolutely. A working relationship with that dude.
I miss him. I miss all those guys. That little pocket of people down in Vegas. You know, many times I've gotten off a plane and hung out down there. It's a jolly old time. Well, hello there, everyone. Apologies for the interruption to the podcast, but I did want to tell you about the amazing Tonewood Amp, the awesome sponsors of the show. Many of you will know already that I use this thing all the time, the magical little device that sticks with magnets to the back of your acoustic guitar, vibrates the back surface of the instrument so that reverb, delay, chorus, Leslie speaker effects, and other loveliness project out of the sound hole as if by magic.
You're a wizard.
I'm a what?
You can head to MikeDawesHasAPodcast.com now to get more information about the Tonewood Amp, as well as saving a tasty percentage for yourself. Let's get right back to it. Well, as it's NAMM time of year, right? I guess we should segue into the gear stuff a little bit, because you're not just an electric guitar guy, because I remember you did touch acoustic in Periphery, right? At least on one song. Any more?
Yeah. Priestess had acoustic.
Priestess is the one I'm thinking of.
Okay, Heavy Heart had acoustic guitars on it. Man, is there more? Jake had an acoustic track on Periphery too.
Oh, really?
I feel like Periphery 4 had none. I feel like we throw it around. It's kind of like this spice that we put on top, but it's never been the basis for a song. Yeah,
which is really interesting. You're the second electronical guitar player I've had on this acoustic guitar podcast, literally sponsored by, in collaboration with Tonewood Amp, which I think I showed you that thing before, the little thing that sticks to the back of the guitar and wizards are in it and they make reverb come out of the guitar. It's wild. But obviously you can't use that on solid body guitars like electrics, for example. But if you do have an acoustic and you're listening, you should definitely check it out. But on the wall behind you, you have the good old PRSs. I've got a PRS behind me, actually. Damn. That is a pole.
That's a PRS?
It is, yeah. So Paul
strategically placed there right before this interview.
Literal coincidence. So behind me, for the benefit of the people on YouTube, there's a little portable Liner APA system by Bose, and I was doing a little test. They sent it out, and I was doing a little test playthrough that I'm going to make a little video for. And I wanted to try out loads of different guitars through it to see how it sounded, and that PRS, by coincidence, is behind. But yeah, Paul came to Bristol, to my town, and basically introduced this guitar into my life. I love it. It's an Angelus, amazing acoustic guitar.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but you've got a consistent look with your guitars, because they are the signature Holcomb models. I've lost track of how many models you have now, or quite honestly. I still need to get one. But what's going on with those, and what's the latest addition to the family?
The latest addition to the family would be a 7-string SE model that we put out. Let me see if I have it here. It's not in this room, and I apologize for that.
That's quite all right.
Wait a minute. Yeah, it is. Hold on. There's one over here. Check it out.
Let's take a look at this thing. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music or something like that, you can check it out on YouTube or Facebook. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's such a... I remember when that design came out, that Holcomb burst.
Yeah.
It definitely took the guitar world by storm. I'd never seen a PRS like that. I guess the closest thing I'd seen would be whoever was playing guitar in Cradle of Filth.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Paul
like
Allender.
It was like a dark kind of PRS look.
Yeah, he had bats on the inlays. This is just way back for me. But one of the reasons it took me so long to formalize my relationship with PRS and to actually approach them and be proactive about developing a relationship with them is because I never thought of them as like a metal guitar growing up. And then I saw Opeth playing them. And then I saw, Opeth, Seven Dust, Cradle of Filth. Like Linkin Park had them too in the early 2000s.
They did, yeah. The guy with the bendy back and the weird head banging on the ground. Bendy back man. You know what I mean.
That's his name, actually, Benjamin D. Back.
With the headphones, headphone McBendy bag.
Who else had them? They were a new metal guitar for a while. You know, like you would see Incubus, Mike Einziger had them for a while.
Right.
And once I started to see the more like hardcore, like, you know, like true metal guitar players have them, Opeth was the big one. Totally. I was like, oh wow, like I guess these can be used for metal. And my sort of first interaction with Paul Reed Smith was, I think, 2013 or something like that. And it was just a conversation at NAMM about sort of what would be the ideal PRS if I could build one. And then, you know, that eventually came to him building me the first prototype 6-string, which is a souped up version of this 6-string, sort of the contoured top that you're used to seeing. I mean, you could see it on the wall back there.
Yeah.
That became the very first. Right. That became the very first signature model. And then we've released a couple more over the years, the SE line that were, you know, more affordable.
So that's what the SE line is. It's a more affordable version. What's the difference?
Well, they take away a lot of the things that add this exorbitant price to it, like the contoured body, you know, that classic PRS body, and top. They take away 10 tops, obviously, since those are what add, you know, the crazy price to it. The materials that they use to build the guitar is a little bit different. The body wood is the same, so it's mahogany body, maple neck, ebony fretboard, and a lot of the sort of minor appointments are different. Like these don't have locking tuners.
Right.
I put these on myself. Just a lot of little minor appointments, but I only take these out on tour now. Like I don't take any of my private stocks out with me anymore.
Really?
The goal with these was just to make the guitar that I would have on stage with me, you know, but not have it be the $6,000 instrument.
This sounds like, from what I understand, Matt Heafy's relationship with Epiphone. Almost.
Oh, okay.
I believe, I might be wrong. I've never met the guy, but those things look amazing, man, and they sound so good. And there's no floating bridge or any whammy stuff going on in your playing. And that's to facilitate how hard you pick your aggressive right hand.
Yeah, I can't do Floyds. I can't do Floyds because I'm always sending the string sharp with how hard I pick. You know, so I have to do a nice, sturdy, fixed bridge, string through body, so my right hand can anchor itself and really, really get in there.
Right on. Yeah, you do pick hard. I have seen this back. I think that when I met you in Montreal, I was also able to come to your concert. I was playing a show but had a night off then, and I think you must have recently joined the band, Dan, because there was a lot of hype around this kind of lineup. And yeah, it's amazing. You have such a unique style as well. That's another reason why I wanted to have you on here as the second electronical guitar player, was because I had Pliny on before, and yourself, is that within that rock metal world, you guys have these such distinct voices, really, in your playing. It sounds like such a very easy, a lazy question to ask, but I am genuinely curious where that kind of style came from, because you're playing these riffs that are lightning fast all over the neck horizontally, which, coming from someone in a very amateur rock and metal band at school, all the riffs I was playing, the kind of thrash, slightly death metal riffs and things, they were all these kind of relatively stagnant shapes. And in comes Mark Holcomb with this freaking pasta noodle, whatever he's doing. Where did that come from? Am I missing something? Is there just like this entire scene of music that I'm just completely ignorant to?
It's hallucinogenic drugs. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. It's acid.
I'll tell you what, like I started playing in 1995, and every sort of era of my playing was based around trying to emulate somebody or some style. And without these eras, I wouldn't be who I am. So I'm supremely thankful for being that, you know, being the sort of copycat, so to speak. And from 95 to 99 or 2000, all I wanted to do was just be James Hetfield. So everything that I did, everything that I wrote sounded like Metallica. And I would sit in my bedroom or stand in my bedroom and have my guitar around my knees and like pretend that I was singing and play Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All and stuff. And I just wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be Hetfield. And then I wanted to be Randy Rhoads. And then I wanted to be Dimebag Darrell. And then I wanted to be Devin Townsend. And then I wanted to be Michael Åkerfeldt. Then I wanted to be Isan from Emperor. Like every version of me up to a point in time, I was just trying to copy somebody's style to make myself better. And then just really lock in to whoever I was obsessed with at the time. And I think that's a common thing. Like I've talked to a lot of players, and it seems like a lot of players have that background as well. For me,
for sure, completely right.
Totally, yeah. For me, personally speaking, the turning point came at a really heightened point of frustration when I realized that I sounded like my influences, and I wasn't doing anything of my own, and I got bummed out, and I put down the guitar for a long time. 6 months, 8 months, something like that. I didn't play. And
you didn't play because you sounded too much like the people you wanted to sound like.
I wasn't exciting myself anymore. You know, nothing about, like, I'd record a song and I'd just be like, this sounds like Killswitch Engage. That was another band where everything I was writing,
just constant squeals and capes. Yeah.
Capes. Yeah. But everything had breakdowns and everything had harmonized guitars, and like Killswitch is still one of my favorite all-time bands, but like nothing I was doing was original in any sense of the word. And I put the guitar down. I didn't pick it up again. And when I did pick it up a chunk of time later, I only went back to the things that I got excited about. So I stopped trying to be Yngwie. I stopped trying to do the harmonic minor runs over classical music.
Just drop kicking guitar picks into the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. And I reignited my love for it, but by going back to these things. Like I always loved sliding around the fretboard. I always loved like the look of it, the way it felt, the way it sounded. You didn't hear it in metal.
You really didn't. You really didn't. I mean, yeah. I grew up in that kind of, Boston metalcore era anyway. So my favorite bands were things like, Killswitch, Shadows Fall, all that kind of scene.
God forbid.
God forbid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I hope they come back. I remember seeing this crazy gig that, not to cut in too much, this gig at the Pyramids in Portsmouth, the aforementioned Portsmouth. And it was God forbid, Shadows Fall, Chimera, Killswitch.
Ooh, that's an all-star lineup right there.
It's a pretty good lineup. Yeah. Sorry, totally cut you off, dude.
Oh, it's okay. It's I always loved the sort of right-hand aggression of thrash metal. Like, it doesn't matter who I was trying to emulate. I always came back to that. So that was my focus. I stopped trying to do sweep picking at 260 BPM because that wasn't me. I wanted to be Yngwie, but that just wasn't me. That wasn't, I don't know. It was just sort of come to Jesus moment where you realize the things that you love about what you do. And I focused on that because at the time I was in my early 20s and I was starting a professional career in IT. I was a busy human being. I was working.
I have no idea about your previous Periphery vocations. I didn't know you were an IT guy.
No, I was writing erotic novels and working in IT. I worked in a cubicle, man. Like I was busy and I liked my job. I liked the routine of it. But fact of the matter is like I didn't have time to play guitar 6 hours a day. So if I was going to pick up the guitar and play for an hour a day or 30 minutes a day, it was going to be centered around things that I found fun about the instrument. Things that I could just forget about the rest of life and sink my time into and my attention into. So I think that's where that style comes from. I think, I think it's just bred out of me gravitating towards the things that I really play the guitar for,
Yeah, so. I relate to a lot of that. My sort of obsession with individual guitar players started with Slash. That was the first thing.
I didn't know that.
I wanted to be Slash. My first guitar was an Epiphone Les Paul, Tobacco Sunburst.
Nice.
And then it would drift and it went to Iron Maiden for a long time.
Oh yeah.
So
isn't that like a British thing? If you have a British passport, like you kind of have to be obsessed with Iron Maiden at a certain point in your life.
Yeah. That was at a time where British passports were worth something. Yeah, and Adrian Smith was like my hero. I've still never met the guy, although I think I had a few opportunities to at NAMM, but chickened out or something. But yeah, I totally relate to that. But then I kind of transitioned to acoustic guitar, and then things kind of melded into this weird kind of concoction, right? But yeah, I meant what I said, man. It is a really fascinating style, and for anyone listening that doesn't know Mark's like playing super intimately, really check it out. Check out a video, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You know, you're all over the place, and that's another thing about you guys in the band. You have these relatively unique styles. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's the best guitar player in Periphery?
Nolly. From a total package perspective, someone who can play leads, record himself, tight as fuck, rhythm hand, probably Nolly, man. Like he's stupid good.
He is kind of, well, I knew Nolly before you knew Nolly, actually.
Yeah.
Because I was living with a guy called George Lever when I was at university, who recently has been quite prominent in the metal world because he's the producer of a band Sleep Token and Loathe and Holding Absence and bands like that. Yeah. And Nolly and he were friends, so Nolly would come round occasionally. And this would have been when I was like 19 or 20 years old or something like that, back in like 2009. And, you know, and I remember one day I saw Nolly playing, I think it was a Black Machine, something like that, just sat on George's bed. And I was like, holy shit. He was playing some like Racer X thing or Paul Gilbert, I don't know, whatever. But just the vibrato, that man's vibrato.
Yeah. Oh, that, yeah.
It's butter. It's buttery smooth. But he's not in Periphery as such right now, and not like an active performing member. Is he still involved in the writing process?
Not in the writing. He still mixes our records. He's still a very present voice in the recording process of the record. And yeah, like I said, he mixes the albums and plays bass on them. And he's still very much a part of the family. He's just not part of the band. Right. So yeah, I say that jokingly, but yeah, like you're saying, like just as a total player, as like from top to bottom, vibrato, picking, like he's got it all. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would say we all have our strengths and weaknesses as players.
That's very diplomatic. It's a very diplomatic answer.
I'm not trying to make the Metal Sucks front page with any comments right now.
Is Metal Sucks like the tabloid metal industry publication?
Yeah, I think so. You say something stupid and then you make the front page. You know, you storm the Capitol and then you're on the front page of Metal Sucks.
Yeah. Iced Earth reference. Yeah, it's a crazy time. It's so interesting recording these episodes in these moments in time. We are 2 days away from when the bombs drop, ladies and gentlemen, as we record right now.
Is that what, 48 hours until the inauguration?
I think so, yeah, 48 hours. So when this airs on Monday, we will be in a dust cloud or we won't. There will be something interesting happening or there won't be. We hope there will be nothing important, although in a really morbid way, and this is a British humor thing, not to be taken seriously, but the amount of sort of social and political upheaval in this country recently, it has been an interesting time to say that there's something else to watch on TV for the past sort of few weeks outside of the British kind of stuff going on. I had my first Brexit thing today. I had my first secret hidden Brexit tax on some gear. Just things like import duty and on stuff that I wouldn't have had to pay before. It came in today on a piece of gear. Not the end of the world by any means, but I remember today was the first time that I've observed a change over here. You know, for better or for worse, we shall find out, and hopefully for the better as we move forward. But I try not to go too deep into that stuff, but we can catch up in private.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm glad that we can be the rest of the world's entertainment. We are our own entertainment at this point, you know. It's like, well, it is the TV is like,
well, that's it. There's nothing new on TV because all the production studios are shut down. So we thank you, America, for giving us something to do with our time as we sit here in lockdown number 3 over here in the UK. So,
as an American, I say you're welcome.
Thank you, Mark Holcomb. Thank you. So, Mark Holcomb, Periphery got Grammy nominated. Do you own a tuxedo?
No, I don't. We
is
really
is that why you didn't win?
I can only guess. Yeah. No, we knew we weren't going to win because I think Megadeth won it or something. I think Megadeth won that year. Megadeth or Korn, one of those. But yeah, when we kind of thought someone was fucking with us at first. We thought we were getting trolled, like, I don't know, Ashton Kutcher got in our emails or something. Yeah. But we didn't really take it seriously. We're like, oh my God, this is real. And for us, we never really cared that much about it. Because it never seemed like a reality. Like, it just seems so far out of your comprehension, like how that even happens.
Yeah, because I spoke to Spencer about it. It's not something that you guys were shooting for or pitching for, right? It just kind of happened.
Not at all.
You're not out there greasing hands and, shaking people's hands and asking them for their consideration constantly on billboards, on Sunset Boulevard? No?
No,
okay.
if that's how if that's how we knew we had to do it, then we probably would be out there doing that stuff, kissing babies and hosting potlucks and chili cook-offs and stuff like that. But
sniffing children. Yeah.
Sniffing. No. But no, when it happened, I mean, like, we're just like, oh God, do we go? Like, we got to go. Right. And then we realized that we had a tour booked at the same exact time of Asia and Australia. So it's like, dick over thousands of fans who have paid money so we can go parade around in tuxedos, rubbing shoulders with Rihanna, or go do our jobs. And for us, it was very simple. It's just like, this is why we have lives. Let's go do our jobs. But no, in retrospect, it's a weird, like, our family, I think our families and our loved ones and our friends care more about it, because they're just like the Filipino side of my family is like, Mark is Grammy nominated. Did you know that, Grandma? He's a successful musician. And then for us, it's just like, that happened. That's weird. That song used to be called Shit Splitter before it got nominated for a Grammy. Like,
oh God.
It's true, by the way.
That's a clip. That's so 100% a clip.
Please let it be.
Oh, I'm crying a little bit.
Yeah, let it be a clip. In the words of the Monkees, let it be.
This. It's the coffee, or it's just your fucking Jesus Christ shit splitter nominated for a Grammy. Well, I've got to give a shout out on the subject. A shout out to my touring buddy Jim, because the last tour I did before the pandemic was another international guitar night tour, and one of the players on the tour, this player called Jim Kimo West, he's like a Hawaiian player, but he plays guitar for Weird Al. But his guitar album just got nominated for a Grammy. So and there's not a single track on there called Shit Splitter, which I thought
immediate -1 point right there.
Well, we'll see if he wins or not. But not to. Well, I'm sure there's an expression for that.
That was the running joke when we got nominated for that Grammy. Like, we were just like, first of all, why that song? Because the song that got nominated it's like a 2-minute 45-second just like punch to the dick,
It's blast beats and
it starts with blast beats, right? And there's a chorus, but it's all screaming. It's kind of a dissonant, really ugly song. And that album had Loon on it, had The Way the News Goes on it, had Marigold, which was our most popular song. And it had all these songs that to me would have been more prime or like more like, okay, I get it. I could see how people would like that one. But then the song, The Price is Wrong, formerly Shit Splitter. That one gets the attention of everybody. And yeah, kind of wish we kept the song title,
Well, then maybe you wouldn't have got the Grammy nomination, or maybe that would have been an even better story for Filipino grandma.
That's what I want for my Filipino grandma. I want her to know that we got nominated for a song called Shit Splitter, and that would have been the story. It's like, I can't believe that this song, with the ridiculous song title that we came up with on tour, got the award.
I think that there's some context there, because I remember when. Because I'm friends with all you guys on social media and stuff. When you got nominated, I remember where I was at the time, because I was with T-Rope, and we were like, "Oh, this is cool." But I think we were on tour, and I think it was a time where Schnit Splitter was released but I don't know if the album was out, because I think it was like the first single from the record, and maybe there was some disconnect between. Well, you know better than I, but I think it was in the consciousness of the community, and I think that's a testament to where the band is and where the band was at that stage as well. Of course, like, you know, to get the nod means that you were clearly on the radar and everyone was anticipating the release. You know.
Yeah. No, all joking aside, man, it's like crazy honor that we make fun of it because we make fun of ourselves constantly, and it's legitimately funny, but it's pretty fucking awesome. Like, just to know that happened to this, you know, to this band, which we all consider to be, you know, the most involved, busy passion project of our lives. You know, that's what Periphery is. It's a big, fun passion project. And to get that kind of recognition is pretty fucking weird and cool.
Well, that's the way you work, right? You guys are creating, like the other artists that I speak to on this podcast. Like, I've been really fortunate that I've been on this able just to reach out to whoever from whatever genre and just have a chat, because but the thing I'm noticing the people I'm reaching out to are sharing is that they're pretty much no compromise. Whatever they want to do, they do, and it's either in fashion or it's not, you know, and it comes in cycles, but they stick to their guns constantly, you know. And I was talking to Andy about this and how nowadays when you put stuff out, you know, it's the TikTok world now where everything has to grab you in a second and blah 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 blah, and there's all these like games to play, and the people that seem to have the longest careers are the ones who just stick to what they do and what they love. And a big part of what you guys are doing, and actually I'll say what I'm doing as well to an extent, is just trying to have fun and you either like it or you don't. And I mean, the project I have with Spencer is named after a guy Wilson and I met at the Rain. You know the story. It's not for here, but you know what I mean. everything's just got to be fun, and you got to have a good time with it. You know, it's
impossible. It's impossible to guess otherwise. It's impossible to make it a science. And we've had conversations from people in our business circle over the years who are no longer with us. They're not dead. They're just not working with us. But we've had these opinions thrown at us from people who we trusted at the time. You know, is there any way to change this to that, to cater to this crowd, so we can synthesize this success for you, so you can reach this level? And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You know, it's not product development. You know, you're not building a phone.
Well, what you're talking about is things like radio pitching and creating a single to get airplay and things like that, right?
Right. Or like in a broader sense, trying to guess what people will like. Right. And I've spent some time thinking about this, and I talked with somebody about it recently too, is Bring Me the Horizon. And like one common thing that I read about Bring Me the Horizon is just like, oh, they're just playing music to get rich now. Like, they're done doing it for art. Like, they just want to do it for money so they can buy bigger houses and feed their kids and whatever. First of all, it's none of anybody's business. Second of all, I hear something completely different. I hear a band that doesn't give a fuck, you know, who doesn't care what you think, who is going to have the Evanescence singer on a song and make it awesome. A band who's going to hire Baby Metal to be on a song. Like, I hear a band that just does not give a fuck. And that's the thing. It boils down to this complete inability to guess what people will like. So you might as well stop trying, you know, as long as it makes you happy, it makes you smile, and something that you're genuinely into. I do believe, I'm a big proponent of this, that people hear that, because I can hear that when I hear a band that truly doesn't care. Like, okay, there's this band Car Bomb. You know Car Bomb?
Yeah. I missed, I think, did they open for you?
Yeah, they were on a tour of ours.
I think I missed that tour, but I is it Greg, guitar player?
Yeah, awesome guitar player.
Now, these guys, just to make sure that I do know the band, these are guys who don't play with a click and they're all over the place, but they're together, and it's bizarre how they are so in sync with each other, correct? Right.
Yeah, that's the band. And there's just one example. That band just sort of popped to my mind when I was thinking about this, but you hear them for the first time and it's like palpable. They just don't care. They don't care if they're going to be on the radio. They don't care if you like their music or not. They're just doing the one thing that they know how to do, and they know they excel at it. And that, I feel like, will never go out of fashion. like there'll always be listeners that can pick up on that and gravitate towards it and latch onto it. And that to me is the secret to a long lasting career. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
There's only one Gojira. There's only one.
Yeah.
The 1975, right?
Yeah.
There's a band that doesn't care. I mean, the amount of varied stuff in their discography. I mean, man, I was noodling around on one of their songs on that PRS last night. A song called "Be My Mistake." I love that song. Oh yeah, it's a great tune, and I was noodling around, and maybe it'll turn into an arrangement. I don't know, but yeah, that's something I really admire about them as well. Is they've reached this massive arena, almost stadium, perhaps height, one of the biggest bands on the planet, and I mean, their last records, multiple records, have just been whatever, and it's brilliant.
Yeah. Their last record, which I know a lot of people didn't like, people came out and said, "Oh, there's there's so many radio songs, or there's just weird electronic songs with no point." There's electronic songs that don't go anywhere on the record, and it's almost like
there's a lot of interludes.
Right. Which I see as a band that's legitimately just doing whatever they want to do.
Well,
right?
also, you and I are Sigur Rós fans. And there's a big influence there in how things are broken up. And
Right. But I love that record. I love the last 1975 album. I thought it was really good. And there's like 2 songs on that record back to back towards the latter part of the album they just sound like 90s R&B. They sound like Boyz II Men songs.
Yep.
I know the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's wild. They've managed to cram a lot of genres into their discography. They got the whole 90s Britpop thing. I don't know how much you in the States know about the Britpop era. Oasis, Blur, that
Oasis,
kind of stuff.
I know Oasis, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a sound of the 90s, it's called Britpop, but they have a song called I Always Want to Die Sometimes.
That song is brilliant.
So that vibe, the kind of Radiohead kind of
old thing. Radiohead.
Yeah. It's that kind of era, I suppose.
Yeah.
But this ties in again. I think it was Andy McKee last week. We were saying, that there comes a point in your artistic output and your artistic development where you realize, oh, no one's done that before. I can do that. It's okay. I'm allowed to do this, even though I have no frame of reference as to whether it's permitted in the scene or not. There's a conscious point in your development when you realize, whatever, let's just do it. Like this Carbon band as an example, or here's one, Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden record so old school, all together in a room, bunch of mics, live. That's such a rare thing nowadays for newer bands, it almost takes another force to say, oh no, you are still allowed to do that if you want. You can record however you want, wherever you want, if it's what you want to do.
Right.
There's certain, bits of advice people can give if they're after a specific goal, of course, but I don't ever want anyone. Some people will be listening to this because it's maybe they're interested in getting into the business or whatever. That's quite a common thing for listening to podcasts with musicians, and it's interesting to me how there's this constant theme with people I talk to of just innovation with zero regard for risk. It's really inspiring. It's
the old it's the Metallica thing, right? Like they didn't think they could write a song like Nothing Else Matters or fuck, man, even Fade to Black. A song like that with acoustic guitars back in that day must have been unfathomable to bands in their circle. Well, like imagine Anthrax having a song that was all acoustic back in the day, or I mean, I guess Megadeth did it at a later point, but throwing curveballs to your audience, if you trust in yourself and trust your audience, which I think is a little trickier, it's almost necessary to capture that approach that we're both referencing right now. And there's a song on Periphery 3 called Catch Fire. I think it was track 8 on that record, track 7 or 8.
But that's the Faith No More vibes, right?
Right. And that was a song we got some heat for.
Oh, really?
There's some people who just don't like that song. I get it. Like, the lyrics are kind of...
It's not metal. I know what metal fans are like.
No, it's not metal. I mean, there's distorted guitar tones, I think, played on the second position, like a coil split kind of tone. And Spencer's vocals are kind of like, just kind of dripping with sensuality. There's like a funky bass line.
Erotic.
And It's erotic. Let's say erotic.
Let's just call it what it is, Mark.
And there was a question. I don't know if I was the one who asked it or somebody else. It was just like, this is a weird Periphery song. But that was kind of where it stopped. It wasn't like, let's not put the song on the record. It's just like at some point, there's just this, who cares? We are proud of it. Let's put it on the record and we'll see how it does. And some people love that song and some people fucking hate it. So yeah. And there's another song called Crush on our last record that was like that. And our manager hates that song. And that's someone who we trust dearly. But at the end of the day, he knows that we have this approach. So he doesn't even try and fight it.
Just don't turn your snare drum off. Talking of Metallica being innovators and
have you heard? Wasn't there some guy on YouTube who replaced the Saint Anger snare drum? Like he put it on other Metallica songs. Have you heard that? Oh,
really? No, that sounds amazing though.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah,
that sounds amazing. I'm trying to think what the craziest Metallica with no snare drum would be. Like Blackened. With
the Saint Anger snare drum?
Yeah.
Or Dyer's Eve, or the last song on Justice. Yeah,
that would be amazing, man. It's so nice to. This is episode 7, I believe, of this podcast, and I'm starting to get to this theme where I'm hearing all this really positive kind of stuff from musicians of so many different scenes. Which I hope, if you're listening, you understand what I'm talking about here. The value of authenticity, especially in an age where everyone's trying to kind of dance to the same dance routines on TikTok or whatever and try and be part of that community. Authenticity goes a long way and will yield you a long and fruitful career.
Yeah. And sorry to tack on one more thing. And this is for listeners out there who may be finding themselves walking down that path that you're referencing right now. I see a lot of Instagram guitar players, a lot of sort of TikTok guitar players, people who are providing content simply for likes and simply for attention in the short term. And that's kind of how they build a career. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a slippery...
Mark, the pretty people have to do something. You know, it's like it can't just be ugly guys making music.
Sometimes we need some attractive people doing it for 15 seconds at a time on TikTok. But there has to be something behind that. If you're after longevity in this, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you know, if you follow Mike on social media, if you follow me on social media or whoever, it's like, you'll see that we do put videos of ourselves playing guitar online and it's fun. Like I genuinely love doing it. I love sharing the creative process, sharing what I'm up to, but that can't be the sole driving reason behind this. And if it is at any point in time, you're going to find yourself burning out really quickly because the real work, the real purpose of all this is stuff that nobody else should see. You know, nobody else needs to make it their business.
That's it. It's so strange. Like I'm trying to imagine how different our lives and progressions will have been if we were growing up without experiencing teenage life offline.
Yeah.
You know, like that must be just so odd. Obviously, we don't know how odd until the current younger generation move forward. But the thing that I'm seeing is that's really obvious is attention span for sure.
Oh yeah,
because you're in an environment that's saturated by as many young people as there are on the planet. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm seeing I'm seeing people become. Well, I suppose that's the thing. If people are building whole careers off this and that's what they want, then what's the problem? But I mean, what I'm seeing people's careers get built off clips. There's no such thing as a song. And the thing is with a song is you need a song to have that deeper connection with the listener. No one ever says, "Oh, I was in a really dark place, but your 15-second clip really pulled me out of that." You know, that's who was I talking to the other day? I think my friend Yuka, who you must have met.
Yeah,
Yuka. Yeah. We were having a catch up, and he was really trying to reinstill that value into me because, you know, I'm off the road. I've got no way to play these tunes. I did a live stream concert. It was fun, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same. It's a different thing. You don't have that connection with people at all. And all you can really do is just put these little clips out, you know. It's one of the only things that we can do right now. And he was reminding me that the deeper connection and the deeper purpose comes from something with that extra meaning. That sounds a bit of a hippie trippy thing, but it's really true. But it remains to be seen how long that will be true for. I mean, maybe we will literally enter a world where a concert is, what is a concert? Someone just playing little 15-second riffs? I mean, like the big picture, you know, it's things to think about, isn't it?
And I hate to be an alarmist about this, but like, I mean, you see it with bands making shorter and shorter records because of the whole.
I didn't realize that was is that a thing?
Oh yeah. I mean, even in Periphery ourselves, it's like, you know, we went from making, you know, an 80-minute double record with Juggernaut to wanting to slim things down. I think the reason for that is not, you know, necessarily tied to knowing that people have short attention spans. I think that's just kind of where we wanted to go with it. But yeah, you see, like I've seen a lot of bands that are like putting out shorter songs and putting out one song, two songs at a time, this single based approach. And
but that's to do with having to please the tech companies. Surely, like that's to do with having to keep the algorithm happy and have more content put out, as in regular uploads. This overwhelming demand for regular content is causing a lot of people doing EPs instead of albums, so they can do 2 or 3 EPs in a year instead of one album drop that then disappears into the internet's garbage, you know, site.
And that has to filter in people's attention spans too. That has to come into play when people start thinking about bands they like. You know, like I feel like right now it's easier to forget about a great song when there's another band that could put out a song, you know, next month, and then there's another band who's put out a single last week. And I don't know. I feel like with this approach, it's like these kinds of things are more likely to take your attention away. It could be just my perception as an old dinosaur in this, but that's not that you are an old dinosaur, but that is definitely part of it. Is like both of us are, like, you know, I'm 31. I'm not the oldest guy in the music business, but I'm old enough now to see how things are different in the current climate than they were for sure. Right. Yeah.
Dude, well, we'll deep vibes. No, we should have a proper catch up offline and start hurling gossip about that kind of thing.
Yeah, let's do it. I could go on a long time about this kind of thing, but I try not to sound like an old jaded, like, you know, because the rules are changing and I want to adapt to the rules, right?
Right. You got to be on the train. The train's left.
Right.
You got to be on. Yeah, of course.
Right. But you've disarmed me in a way to where I want to be an old crab.
Exactly. Well, dude, so there was so many other things that I wanted to chat about, but maybe it's best we just do it informally, because this has been a wonderful opportunity to catch up and also stick it out on the internet for anyone interested. I have a little list of questions I was going to ask you, but we've kind of touched on so much more fun stuff. I did want to give a shout out to your Seymour Duncan stuff, your pedal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is I still haven't tried one out ever. I've never had the opportunity because I missed this NAMM. That's usually the opportunity to do that kind of thing. The last NAMM that there was.
I got to get you one of those pedals, man. You would have a blast. I'd actually love to hear an acoustic hooked up to it. I'll see if I can sort you out with one. The Dark Sun. I'll get you a Dark Sun.
Dark Sun, Seymour Duncan. Frack yeah, there we go. It pays to have a podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. You got a free pedal out of it.
I did also want to ask one final question. Yeah. Cyberpunk, did you get it to actually work?
It booted. Yeah, it loaded up. I have a base PS4, and I got through the first story bit. And like, you texted me, some other people texted me, they're like, is it actually working? And I replied, I was like, dude, yeah, all this shit is like overplayed. Like, it's just video gamers being melodramatic. Don't pay attention to that stuff. And then I got into the first part of the game where the open world becomes available to you and you can start driving around. And then like, faces aren't loading, environments aren't loading. You drive into a parking lot and like 10 cars would just land 5 seconds later. And so would a bunch of people start populating second by second. And I was so bummed out. And I just stopped playing. Like, there were a couple other games I wanted to play. So I was just like, you know what? I'm not touching this. Like, I've been anticipating Cyberpunk for so long that I'm not going to give this half-assed playthrough right now. I'm going to just wait until it's good to go, until I get a PS5 or something. But yeah, did you play it?
No, because of what you said. You know, I mean, I've been playing one game and one game alone for the past like 3-4 months.
GTA.
Other than the arcade machine that I got is Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PS4, which is so fun. Every other day I have a 1 hour or so session with a friend of mine from uni with the headsets, Obi-Wan and Anakin, just doing the thing. And it's the morning therapy before the day begins.
Oh, you do it in the morning. That's awesome. You got a cup of coffee there.
Yeah, I say the morning, our morning, but in terms of other people in the UK, the mid-afternoon.
Oh, okay. Because you're a night owl. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to get on it. You got to get on it. Dude, it's great. It was just released for free on PC. For a period of time, and it crashed the servers because so many people want to play it. When they launched the game, it was full of this EA loot crate gambling controversy, whatever. But it's I think it's the best Star Wars game there is, really, as a bit of a Star Wars fan myself. So if you find yourself bored on the PS4, you want to pick it up. It's a lot of fun to play online with a squad. And speaking of the Dark Sun and sharing the love, I must, if you don't have one, get you a Tonewood amp as well for that acoustic. What acoustic is it? Is it yours, or did you use it in the studio?
No, it's a PRS Angelus, same as you got. Yeah.
Oh, wicked, sweet. Yeah. Got the brace in there. Got to get you sorted out, man. Dude,
I would love that.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you have seen it, right?
You've showed it to me in person.
That's the thing, yeah, because I don't know if I had the opportunity to actually show it, because I normally have it on me on tour, but I don't know if I had the opportunity to show you in person. Yeah, it's pretty wild, man, and husband and wife business, always interested in supporting those guys whenever possible. Yeah. And I'm slowly infiltrating the metal community with the Tonewood amps as well. I know Tosin and Javier, I had a visit from them as well. So
it starts here with me, and then in a year, Kerry King will be playing Tonewood amps. You never know.
That is
I'm calling it.
That is
I'm calling it right now.
Right there.
Kerry King, dude.
Kerry King from Slayer, acoustic guitar, reverb, and just this and the whammy and this. Dude, it's been a pleasure. Let's stay online because I want to chat to you for a second off the air. But ladies and gentlemen, Mark Holcomb from Periphery and Haunted Shores, a beacon of niceness, wisdom, and puns. Check them out when the pandemic's over. Check out a show, and he will melt your face with his loveliness. Take care, dude. See you.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out this week's episode of the podcast. For more information about this week's guest, head to the link in the description, where you will also find more information about the Tonewood amp, as well as that cheeky little discount you can get as well. Lots of love. See you next time.